Hey everybody, this is Dr. Maya Alapin, Mama Soul Doc. I am not a medical doctor or a mental health care practitioner. What is ACH? What is Advanced Conversational Hypnosis? So, the great grandfather of hypnosis, Milton Erickson, he was Australian and he was wheelchair bound. He had had polio as a young child and had learned to read people's body language and um, the semiotics of movement. He was able to read all of that basically with his mind subconsciously. So he became a very famous hypnotist who basically reportedly, was a mind reader. Like you could be in front of him and he knew what your problems were and he could solve them like basically immediately with very little effort. So what was very unique about him, and I find like beautiful, is he didn't exactly have a method. His method was to do whatever had to happen for that person when they were there, which is very hard to put into a book or, a class. Like, how are you supposed to teach people to do hypnosis, like, based on what the other person needs? You have to be kind of a mind reader for that. So, conversational hypnosis is a methodological way of mind reading, so to speak. So, the way we do that is by becoming acquainted with the language of the subconscious and the unconscious moment is what we call it in this field. And by becoming very expert and very confident with that reading, which is multi-leveled, is not just like speaking English. It's got all kinds of calibrations and information points to it, data points to it. And so as you become experienced with that and as you become natural with it, basically the practitioner becomes able to do what Erickson could do, which was identify how the client can best figure out what they really want and need. And so the Ericksonian method is a method of utilization, which means taking what the client is offering and doing something with it. So, what's very cool about that is it does not require the practitioner to do any like diagnosing or preparing a protocol because all of that is counterindicated when the process is client driven. So, what Erickson taught us is to trust the client and to trust their subconscious and to use um, our own hypnotic insight to invite them and assist them into their own trance states. And through that, create transformation and opportunity for transformation. So, the long story short is this method is a conversation. That's why it's called conversational, but it's an advanced conversation because it defies and over reaches a traditional conversation into a subconscious conversation. So I kind of say to my clients, it's like the most interesting conversation you've ever had. I wouldn't say it's the most memorable because some people don't remember that much of it because it's subconscious, but it's memorable in the impact and feeling that it has. So that's what occurs in the sessions is we talk, the trance emerges, the client experiences it, at some junctures, various um, problems are solved, various knots are undone, is a way that we talk about it. And as a result of that, the perspective of the client shifts. Now, of course, there are some more elements to it, like uh, emotional trance, which would be like reading of the physical, so-called physical symptoms. There's all kinds of ways of speaking to people which are motivational or suggestive. So there are pieces built around or into that conversation. But at the bottom of it, it's an interview. It's a hypnotic interview about a problem, which invites trance, which creates the possibility of growth and movement and transformation. And what people tend to say about it at the end is when I ask them, okay, so what's the problem? Tell me about the problem again. They say, what problem? Or I can't remember what problem. Or why did I even have that problem? And the next bit of experience that I have with them then is to stress test it. So I test whether the movement through the problem is really robust and reliable. So those are kind of the steps that happen inside of the session. It is that interview and then the testing, and then built around that we have some of the other things that I mentioned, the motivation, the affirmation, and a few other built-in safety and time features. And that's the conversational process. At the end of it, when the problems are dissolved, people tell me that they feel very tired. Some people say stoned. Some people say drunk. Some people say they feel high. Some people say they feel like they went somewhere. Some people say they feel pretty normal but different. Excitement I've gotten. Some people like are ready to go to sleep, like really falling asleep. So it's a pleasant experience. It's a kind of natural experience. There's nothing put on about it. We don't do any like woo woo, like faking stuff, like la la la, 1098, blah blah blah. I don't do any of that. So it has a pretty flowy, easy feel to it. What's different about it is the results. It has a good feel to it, a nice comfortable experience, which leads to massive, massive change, like really profound differences in people's lives. And I say that that's like a domino effect because they begin in the sessions or even before the sessions, and they continue for months, weeks, years, I don't know how long, even decades, I think. Because that's the power of the mind. Once the mind holds on to something very important, it really capitalizes on it and expands on it. So, I guess that's just an overview of what happens in the conversational experience. Obviously, I teach a 3-day course on it, so there's a lot more I could say, and there's a lot more nuance and a lot more detail. And to practice it, you gotta have some boundaries and safety features, already in place and in mind. But overall, I do want to say, I think what's beautiful about it is the simplicity, the principle-based nature of it, and the asymmetrical impact. How very, very beautiful and in a way simple it is, and how the repercussion and result of that is so enormous. It's magic. It's amazing. So that's why I love it, and that's why I'm teaching it. If you have questions about that or anything else you want to know about the method, please ask me. This is Mama Soul Doc, Dr. Maya Alapin in Montreal, Quebec. Thank you for listening.